Hello, YouTube. Today we will again be looking at the election of legislative representatives. In the United States, the House of Representatives are elected through a system called first past the post. Every district has candidates vying for office, and the candidate that wins the most votes wins the election. This system seems to be a fair way to elect representatives, but there are some major drawbacks. In first past the post, those who vote in a close election for the losing candidate do not get their voices heard in Congress. If a state has a very close overall election result between the two major parties, but one side wins most of the seats, the other party loses out even though they got nearly the same number of votes. First past the post also allows gerrymandering, which I discussed in my last video. When the districts are drawn throughout the state, parties can try to put certain types of voters in districts to limit their opponent's ability to win seats. In first past the post, it is possible to rig the election in your favor and prevent your opponent from getting seats. I am proposing that representatives for Congress and for state legislatures should be elected through proportional representation. But what is proportional representation? Proportional representation refers to the general principle found in any electoral system in which the popular parties of an electorate are reflected proportionally in the elected body. It sounds complicated, but it can be fairly simple. Like in the gerrymandering video, let's use Ohio as an example. Let's pretend for a moment that the 2022 congressional election used a proportional representation system. Ohio has been allotted 15 seats from the size of its population in the 2020 census. The results of the election, by percentage, was Republicans winning 56.43% of the vote and the Democrats taking 43.57% of the vote. The non-party candidates did not receive enough votes to even have 1/100% in the election, so only two parties would win seats in the proposed system. The seats would be based on the percentage of the statewide election. Rounding would need to be used, which is easy with only two parties receiving votes. Normal rounding rules should apply, with 5/10 rounding up and anything lower rounding down. So, with 56.43% of the vote, the Republicans would gain 8 seats, and with 43.57%, the Democrats would be awarded 7 seats. So, who would be in these seats? All parties in the state attempting to win seats in Congress would need to submit a list of candidates. In the case of Ohio, both parties would submit lists of 15 eligible candidates to win the seats. With these results, the top 8 names of the Republican list would be given seats, and the top 7 of the Democratic list would win seats. It is possible to put rules in place that so many men and women or other demographics are needed on the list or how they can be ordered. But the short of it is that in this system, there would be a more balanced result between actual votes received by each party and the number of representatives that they will receive. Now, there are some clear arguments against my suggested system. The first and most obvious drawback would be the removal of the district and the representative residing in the district that they represent. This is a very strong concept in American politics that the representatives live in the area that they represent. There are many good arguments for the concept, but I do not believe that representatives truly represent the districts that they claim to, nor do I think that a Democratic voter is truly represented by a Republican or vice versa. I believe that we live in a different political reality than existed in the early republic. When the Constitution and many of our political institutions were founded, the political landscape was more regional than party-centric. Today, we have shifted to a team mentality of party politics. A person who wants to vote for a Republican will not feel represented by a Democrat that lives next door. They would rather have someone of their own ideology to represent them. In a first-past-the-post system, the winner takes all. In a proportional representative system, the people will feel that their votes matter and helped their desired party win seats. Is the system perfect? Well, nothing can truly be perfect. Some elections, the results for one side may be so low that they cannot gain any seats. But then again, if so small of a group votes for the party, then they do not deserve to win the seats. Nothing but direct democracy can give everyone a 100% equal vote. What this system does is makes it fairer for all political parties that are vying for representation in Congress. It will also make it easier for smaller parties to break into the threshold. In the current system, a minor party would need to outright win a single district to gain a representative, while in my proposed system, they would only need to get a certain number of votes statewide to gain one seat. The rules for a minimum can either be whatever percentage wins one seat or a minimum percentage of the overall vote being needed to win a seat. Again, that sounds complicated, but it isn't too crazy. I would propose a system where the real percentage of statewide votes goes to representatives. So in Ohio, a minor party could win 0.06% of the vote and have a possibility of winning a seat. This would make it far easier for a minor party to gain traction in congressional races. A similar proportional system can be put in place at the state level for state legislatures. This will help bring more parties into the mix and will strengthen our republic. The two-party system is one of the major drawbacks in current American politics. Proportional representation will make things fairer for the major parties as well as the minor parties. Is it the best system for representation? I believe that in the current political climate of party politics, proportional representation is the best system to prevent gerrymandering or any other types of rigging to subvert the will of the voters. In the proportional system, every vote will count. Do I believe this system will not need updated or changed? Of course, it will need to be revised over time. Nothing lasts forever, and eventually politics will change, and we may find another system that better fits the paradigm. But in today's world, I believe proportional representation is the best way for the U.S. to revamp our congressional elections and better represent the American people.